Hi guys, take a seat, grab your popcorn or any snack you enjoy because this video is going to be a long journey. Let's go. Episode 11. It was incredible. I'm trying to gather my emotions right now because there were so many great scenes. Bunok with the gun scene was intense. There were so many emotions Bunok was going through, especially by the end when she fires the gun but there's no bullet inside. The way she cries, it shows how messed up she is from the inside. Even though her putting a gun over Yeong Ro made me so mad at her. But at the end of this scene when she cried, I genuinely felt bad for her. Mrs. P and Bunok have a very deep connection. No one can stand in front of Bunok, but Mrs. P wasn't scared for a second to stand in front of Bunok. A lot of people were predicting for Mrs. P to be Bunok's sister, but I think that's not possible. I do believe that Mrs. P knew Bunok's sister personally. Bunok's sister was in Germany. And so was Mrs. P, and I think in the folded picture, it's Bunok's sister with Mrs. P. I think Mrs. P and Bunok's sister were best friends and both were framed by ANSP as North spies. But only Mrs. P made it out alive and Bunok's sister died during the interrogation and torture. That's why Mrs. P took in Bunok and cares so much for her. Because Mrs. P feels indebted to Bunok's sister. Mrs. P doesn't want Bunok to end up like her sister. Mrs. P would also be reminded of Bunok's sister when she looks at Bunok. So, that's why Mrs. P has this strong emotional connection to Bunok. And that's why she even let Bunok get away with so many wrongs that she does. Of course, there's more to the story of the folded paper in Mrs. P's book. I feel like the reason Dr. Kong wasn't able to look at the photo and gets interrupted is that she's related to that photo. When she'll actually look at the photo, she'll instantly recognize one of the women in the photo. It could be possible Dr. Kong herself took the photo. I think Bunok's sister met with Dr. Kong in Germany. And it was because of Dr. Kong that Mrs. P and Bunok's sister ended up getting in trouble. Remember in a scene where Bunok is telling Dr. Kong the story of her sister. I feel like Dr. Kong's expressions are very suspicious. It seems like she knew the person being talked about in the story. That is Bunok's sister. Maybe Dr. Kong also feels bad for what ended up happening to Bunok's sister. That's why she gave Bunok a chance and chose her from all the other girls to keep an eye on the other girls. Also, I wanted to clarify. A lot of people were thinking that when Mr. An was torturing Mrs. P near that reservoir, while he's talking about this lover of Mrs. P in the north, the story Mr. An is saying isn't true. That's actually Mr. An making up a false story, and he's forcing Mrs. P to agree to this story and agree that whatever he's saying is true and agree that she's a spy. That's what ANSP was famous for doing back in those days. They would create a completely fake story around someone and frame them as a North spy. Mrs. P would have gone to jail after she agreed to Mr. An's made-up story. But then Mr. An would have made a deal with her that if she works for NSP as a spy inside the dorm, then he'll get her out of jail. Remember when Mrs. P is telling her story in the basement when she's tied. She said, and then the person who tortured me shed fake tears when I got out. That must be Mr. An who tortured her. And then pretended to be happy and shed fake tears when she got out of jail and cleared charges on herself for being a North spy. Now, let's talk about the good scenes in episode 11. First, I need to talk about the tape listening scene. It was better than I expected it to be. They showed us exclusive scenes from the past both from Soo Ho and Young Ro's perspectives. They really fell in love at first sight. It's not something that's very common, but this magic happened with them. Soo Ho is happy to hear Young Ro's heartfelt confession on the tape and he can't help but smile. But the smile has a hint of sadness to it. Because how can he genuinely smile knowing the situation they're all trapped in? Now the important thing is Soo Ho has also recorded a message for Young Ro. And I believe this message would play a vital role in the end. I really don't want Soo Ho to die and then Young Ro hears this message. I think when they leave the dorm, Soo Ho will manage to escape to the north to go to his sister. Then Young Ro would hear this tape. In the recording, Soo Ho would have told Young Ro how much he loves her. Soo Ho would have recorded everything he wasn't able to say to her face to face. The recording will make Young Ro tear up and I think after she hears the recording, she will try to do anything she can to meet Soo Ho once again. There's a possibility for a happy ending. Soo Ho would defect to the south and the ANSP will help him change his identity and he can become a South citizen. Actually, I thought of this because, in episode 11, Gong Moo suggests to Dr. Kong that she leaves the north side and he'll help her settle here as a doctor. Remember that Gong Moo is from ANSP so he can make it possible. And the fact that Gong Moo suggested this means it's possible. But Dr. Kong replies that for this to happen the opposition party needs to win the election. What that means is that the current president should not win the coming elections. To make that happen, Han Na has to make sure that the hostage scheme for the election gets out in public so the faces of evil people in the government get outed. But I know it won't be as easy as it seems. The current president has his pawns all inside ANSP who are working for him instead of working for the country. Han Na would take the evidence to the broadcast station, but I'm sure it'll get caught by ANSP before it could be aired. But we shouldn't lose hope because somehow they'll manage to reveal to the public the true intentions of the ruling president, and it will help the opposition party win. This way Soo Ho could defect to the south and live here with Yeong Ro with a new identity. Because after all, North has completely given up on him. But Soo Ho has his sister in the north. Either Soo Ho brings her with him or else Soo Ho won't be able to come to the south. I have a feeling something might happen to Soo Ho's sister just like Yeong Ro's brother died. I think when the North will find out that Soo Ho is trying so hard to get out alive and is not listening to the commands of his country, he'll threaten Soo Ho with the life of his sister. And that, my friends, is going to be very painful to watch if it were to happen. Because in the preview of episode 12, there's a scene where Soo Ho's stepfather is laughing when he gets the news of Soo Ho joining hands with Gong Moo. Alright, so things have gotten very serious. So let's talk about the kiss scene. The last attic scene had me screaming, smiling, and crying all at once. These two play with my heart. How can they be so perfect? When Yeong Ro and Soo Ho are erasing their memories with coffee, Yeong Ro first removes her embarrassing memory of singing at the Evergreen Records. The way Soo Ho smiles and laughs is because he doesn't want to remove that memory for himself as he cherishes it a lot. But then they go on further with removing the painful memories, and that was it. I had tears in my eyes. And Soo Ho in the end asks Yeong Ro to take a sip and remove the memory of what he's about to do right now. Why? Why, Soo Ho? I don't want this memory of kissing to be removed. That's not right. Soo Ho probably wants the memory of him kissing Yeong Ro to be removed, so it doesn't get harder on both of them because right now they have no idea if they even have a future together. But it's impossible for them to stay away. Soo Ho has claimed Yeong Ro's first kiss, and this isn't a memory she can never remove from her head and heart ever. In the next episode, we will see them being awkward around each other because the kiss would keep replaying in their heads. Maybe we'll see funny scenes of them running away from each other whenever they cross paths. And everyone around them would be like, what the hell happened to these two? Yeong Ro would think of the kiss when she's alone or about to sleep, and she can't help but blush. Her roommates would notice it and they'll ask him about all the details, and the girls would gossip all night. Because after Gong Moo and Soo Ho joined hands, we saw that the girls have been allowed to move around in the dorm freely. So, we'll see a few same vibes as we got in the first few episodes. But of course, this fun or liveliness would be temporary because the moment the next day will come they'll realize how they're still trapped in a hostage drama and their country doesn't care for them either. You know how too much freedom is also very dangerous. I think Hye Ryoung, Saul Hee, and the two boyfriends will decide to escape from the dorm somehow. We all know how dumb all four of them are. Probably it'll be the idea of Hye Ryoung or Gwang Tae. We see in the preview, the four of them are in the washroom area and they're standing near the window above. Probably they're thinking of escaping from the window. But they'll be interrupted by something else that'll happen in the dorm, which I think is the whole drama of the spy in the dorm. That will cause havoc and Mrs. P will call everyone in the hall or something. But even if these four dummies try to escape, they would find it out themselves that they can't escape even if they go out because the SWAT teams outside would force them inside again. I have seen a lot of theories of Hye Ryoung being a North spy, but honestly, I feel like she's too dumb to be a spy. There's a mystery behind her name change. Hye Ryoung gets extremely angry whenever Bunok calls her by her real name. And I think Hye Ryoung's friends know the reason why she hates her real name and uses a new name now. I think it's more of a personal thing rather than a spy or something. Also, which kind of spy stays low for this long? If she was one, she should have done something till now. I think the reason for the name change could be related to a boy in her past. Or she might have moved from some other college where she had a case on her for some kind of theft or something. Because you see, Hye Ryoung keeps on taunting Bunok for stealing and being not a college student in the first episodes. I think maybe it was a coping mechanism for her because she went through something similar in her past where people treated her like Bunok. So that's why it's hard for her to even look at Bunok as it reminds her of her past self. Also, when Saul Hee calls her Ko-Hye when Bunok forces her to, we can look into their eyes. It seems like Saul Hee knows the reason and she feels bad for calling her friend and giving her pain. And we can see Hye Ryoung's eyes tearing up. If she was a spy, she wouldn't have ever let Bunok even know about her real name in the first place. But I'm not completely ruling out the possibility of her being a spy. I'm just giving my opinion on this whole thing. If she still turns out to be a spy, that'll be a plot twist indeed. Anyways, There's another prediction I have, but for another roommate. It's about Saul Hee. The scene in episode 11 where all of the hostages are watching the news and they're looking at their parents. Saul Hee sees her dad, but she still lies to Gwang Tae that his father is not here. It's because Saul Hee is not from a rich family like she claims in front of everyone. Saul Hee claims that her father is the CEO of this big and famous company. So of course, people would recognize the face of this CEO. That's why Saul Hee fails to point at her real father when Gwang Tae asks. I feel bad for Saul Hee because Gwang Tae is with her simply because of the money. Saul Hee deserves someone way better who makes her realize that being rich and poor doesn't mean anything and accepts the real her. In episode 12, there will be a hidden mole of a ANSP inside the dorm who will reveal to the ANSP that Gong Moo and Soo Ho have joined hands. Now who that might be, let's try to predict. First of all, there will be raw chicken delivered to the dorm so the girls can have proper meals. I have a feeling Soo Ho wouldn't be the one to order this much chicken. But ANSP will send it themselves without asking, and they'll pretend on the call how much they care for the girls, so that's why they're sending this chicken. But they sent the chicken because they had hidden something inside one of the chickens. Maybe it's a device to make contact with the ANSP or an audio recorder to spy on Suho and Gong Moo's plans. In the bonus scene of episode 11, we see someone wearing black open up the refrigerator and take out this exact chicken. What that means is that this person knew beforehand which chicken had the device from ANSP inside it. So, this person was in contact with ANSP. You see, firstly everyone was forced into one place. But now that Suho allowed everyone to be free inside the dorm, that's why such a situation happened. It's definitely not the chef lady, Mrs. O. It will look like it's her to everyone when they'll be searching because she'll go missing. But I know for a fact it's not her. Firstly, she isn't wearing black. Secondly, there's a reason she's gone missing. Because Mrs. O will see the actual person who is the mole. The scene in the preview where Mrs. O is shushing and sitting down in the kitchen. It's because she saw that person, and I think that person will hurt her and tie her up somewhere. That's why Suho and Gong Moo won't find her. I have a huge feeling that this mole inside the dorm is Mondong. I thought it'll be Mrs. P because she's also wearing black. But we all know how much Mrs. P hates ANSP. And also she had her walkie-talkie lost too. So she can't contact ANSP and possibly know that NSP will send something hidden inside the chicken. Another reason why this might not be Mrs. P is that the person who will tell about Suho and Gong Moo clearly doesn't support them together. But Mrs. P actually realizes that it's important for Gong Moo and Suho to work together for the greater good of everyone in the dorm. Mondong, on the other hand, might not agree to this and would think that it's not good that they're working with a North spy. Mondong is a very suspicious character. Remember, in one episode he's having a fight with his son and his son says something like, "You don't know the reality of my dad. He's a scary person." I think Mondong did something in the past which was very wrong. The thing is, Mondong is the eldest character. He has been in the dorm for the longest time. He knows everything about the dorm. He knows even more than Mrs. P. Because Mondong was here even when the last headmistress was here. Remember how the old headmistress is against Mrs. P becoming the new headmistress and replacing her. Firstly, I think the reason why the old headmistress wasn't approving of Mrs. P was that Mrs. P had the case of being a North spy on her. It might be written in Mrs. P's file and track record. So, the old headmistress wouldn't want such a woman to become the next head. But ANSP wants to make Mrs. P the next head no matter what it takes. Because they want Mrs. P to spy there for them. But the old headmistress will not let ANSP do so. So, the ANSP will order Mondong to kill the headmistress. Also, I feel like Mondong must have been threatened with the life of his son. So he had to listen to ANSP and kill the old headmistress. Right now Mondong's son hates his father, knowing that his father did bad things for NSP. But he doesn't know he did all that for him. The proof for it is that Mondong was the first person to find the old headmistress dead. And he was the one who told everyone that she committed suicide. Maybe Mondong didn't kill her, but he played some role in her killing herself. That's why in the first few episodes, we see once Mondong sees a hallucination of the old headmistress when the head girl is sleepwalking. He saw that hallucination because he's still traumatized by what happened in the past. Also, Mondong is the one who knows so much about gadgets and devices. The girls used to come to him to get their electronic stuff fixed. So, I think he would have something in his room in the basement that he will use to contact ANSP. Other than Mondong, Hye Ryoung was also wearing a black jacket before all the girls, and she too changed their clothes. But I think that jacket is too short, and the person who opened the refrigerator had a longer jacket. Plus, I don't think Hye Ryoung could tie up Mrs. O later on and hide her away. Also, Suho and others in the dorm would suspect Bunok too, but it's clearly not her. But when her room is searched, they will find money hidden in her bed. But I think that's the money from the black bag. She took some of it and hid it. But that doesn't make her the mole. But definitely will make her get in trouble. She might get up getting held under supervision. Soo Ho would also let Comrade Ju know about the mole, and I think they might free him so he can help them find the mole. Now, the second person on my list of suspicions is Dr. Kong. I was afraid to share my suspension here because she isn't wearing black, but she has many reasons to tell ANSP about Gong Moo and Soo Ho. Firstly, in episode 11 when Dr. Kong asks for coffee and in a way is agreeing to work with Soo Ho and leaves the basement, she looks so suspicious. How can she magically change like that? She's definitely very clever and knows that she can't do anything if she remains tied in the basement. So she lied to Soo Ho to get out of the basement, and now she can easily do things there. Dr. Kong cannot support a North spy working with ANSP, so she would let ANSP know about them working together. Secondly, I wonder if it was someone else who was the mole. Do they tell the secret of Dr. Kong being a North spy? I think Dr. Kong's secret will not get out so easily. So, it makes more sense that it's Dr. Kong who is the mole because she only told about Soo Ho and Gong Moo working together and of course not revealing her own identity. If the mole was someone else, they would probably tell the secret of Dr. Kong too. Also, Dr. Kong was sent over here by Tae-il, so she might know how to communicate to him. She can even use the phone too. There's a scene on episode 11 preview where Nam Tae-il is saying, "Kill them all," which makes me wonder if he found out about Dr. Kong's true identity. But still, his mood wasn't that angry. I think if he'll find out about her, he'd be much angrier than this. But we also have an idea now that Dr. Kong promised to help Soo Ho whenever they would meet again after that time he saved her in the snowy mountain area. So, Dr. Kong is indebted to him. So, I believe she won't do something this drastic. Now, it comes down to either Mondong or Dr. Kong being the mole. I have presented possible proofs for both of them. So, let's see who turns out to be the actual mole. It could be someone completely else too. Who knows? But I'm placing my bet mainly on Mondong. Comment below who you think is more likely to be the mole. After Soo Ho and Gong Moo's secret will be out, Gong Moo would talk to the ANSP chairman over the walkie-talkie. Gong Moo will share his concerns over how he was forced to go back and when he tried to escape and that ANSP doesn't want to save anyone. Young Ro's dad would try to reason with Gong Moo, but he wouldn't get fooled by them. Gong Moo would turn off the walkie-talkie and Tae-il would be angry and say that we should kill them all including Gong Moo. But Yeong Ro's dad would not let him do so. Also, I think they'll finally find Mrs. O and she'll tell Soo Ho and Gong Moo that someone told the chicken. She herself wouldn't remember the face of that person. Also, she would be thinking they only stole a chicken. But Soo Ho and Gong Moo would connect dots, so they'll rush to the kitchen and check all the chickens and find the hidden device. It could be a wiretap that was eavesdropping on everyone. After that, the next phase will include finding the mole. They'll even question all the hostages. I think this situation will put the hostages in trouble again. Like Soo Ho wanted to trust everyone, but they'll have to again keep an eye on the hostages, or else a situation like this can happen again. In episode 11, we would see Soo Ho and Young Ro getting closer too. The church scene would finally take place too. I have already talked so many times about that scene, so I'll skip all that today. Dr. Kong would definitely see and notice them getting closer. Maybe she'll even see them sitting in the church together. That's why in the preview, Dr. Kong is saying to Soo Ho, "You'll never end up with her anyways." Dr. Kong would try to make Soo Ho realize the harsh reality of their relationship. I don't think she's saying this only out of jealousy. She really wishes good for Soo Ho, and she knows Yeong Ro and Soo Ho's relationship is almost impossible. But Soo Ho would let Dr. Kong knows that he just wants to protect Yeong Ro at all costs. Even if they can't be together, he still wants to risk his life to protect her. So, that was it for today's video. Let's discuss more in the comments below. Thank you so much for making it to the end. It means so much to me. Take care, Snowdrop family, and I'll see you soon with another video.